ค่ะ
Okay. Sorry, I couldn't hear you earlier, Betty. I can hear you now. Does anyone have any topic they would like to start with? Alberto, have you got a topic you would like to start with? You look like you've got lots of papers in front of you.
Yeah. Hi. Maybe Yotika has something because I don't have anything. Sorry.
Yotika, would you like to start with any topic?
Yes. I have a question about what is Dhamma and what is Dhamma. Someone said to me that the Dhamma should be brought exactly as the Buddha give it and as the teacher give it to you. And you in fact are watering because it is not exactly the form and it's just not exactly the meditation form. I don't understand.
I think
so
I'm going. Yes, go ahead. I'm going to pass the topic to Ajahn, and I think she'll ask you what Dhamma is, and Adhamma is the opposite. So
Yeah.
Dhamma is what is true, what is life now, what is real now, and Adhamma is the opposite, what is not Dhamma. And usually people talk about the Dharma in a very conventional way, about having given it to you and watering and meditation and all these things. But the real question is, what is the actual Dharma now? What is the truth right now? But let's let Ajahn start by answering your question.
Thank you.
Ajahn, could you hear Yutika's question? Okay, I'll continue on a little more. Maybe Ajah's not quite free. So,
Sarah,
yes.
I just launched. Okay, now, when we talk about Dhamma, the first thing, we talk about that which is real. If it's not real, if it's not there, why can we talk about it? Because it's not there. But what is there now? Is it known as it is, as just it's so real at moment when it's there? So whatever is there with the characteristic, as it's seen or heard, sound is there at moment of hearing, and visible object is there right now at moment of seeing. They are real, no matter who call it Dhamma or any word. But the truth is that it's a reality. And so many different realities, for example, even at moment of seeing is real, but it's not that which is seen. And that which is seen is real, but it's not that which experiences it. That's why it's real from birth time. It's a Dhamma, different from warm seeing to hearing and thinking and so on. the moment of birth up to now, the moment of today and yesterday and tomorrow, all are dhammas. What is that? It's real. What is that? It's a reality, different one, just conditioned to arise and fall away instantly right now. Begin to understand what we are interested to understand the truth of it. Because we heard the name or the word Dhamma, what they say, it's that which is real, no matter what. Sweetness at moment of tasting is real, it's a Dhamma. So instead of talking about different names and different languages, the reality is there, it's true for everyone, any moment, anywhere, anytime. That's why beginning to understand what is meant by Dhamma, whatever is real. So anger is there. It's there real. It's a reality. Attachment is there. For sure, nobody can change its characteristic. So it's a reality, a Dhamma, a Dhamma, a Dhamma, a Dhamma. But there are so many different Dhammas. That's why it depends what is the topic or what is the subject that we are talking about. As we know, everything is a Dhamma. So we can talk about a Dhamma when we understand what we are talking about. That's why there is the word Dhamma and the word Adhamma when we talk about kusala or akusala, because Dhamma is real and no matter it's wholesome or unwholesome, it's real. That's why we understand what is that real. We don't talk about that aspect. What we talk about just what we are interested at that moment to understand whether that moment is wholesome or unwholesome. So the word wholesome is the short word for kusala dhamma, and the short word for adhamma is akusala dhamma. When we talk about this aspect, we know we don't talk about seeing or hearing or tasting, but we just talk about what usually people take to be kusala or akusala, in short, Dhamma or Adhamma. It depends on the understanding of the person who is talking about Dhamma and Adhamma. The meaning of these words, these two words, is one is kusala Dhamma and the other is akusala Dhamma, Adhamma.
Yeah.
So when we read in the Tipitaka, when it's about together, Dhamma and Adhamma, it means kusala or akusala. Keep on reading further, and it means kusala Dhamma and akusala Dhamma.
Yes. Yes. Achan, it is about meditation, and that the meditation should be exactly as the Buddha did. And if it is a different form, as I understood, if it is a different form, it is already Dhamma. I cannot understand, but is it about the form? We are listening here and speaking together, and then it is not like the meditation from the Theravada tradition and then from Mahasi tradition. You know, I think it is so narrow to speak in this way, like Dhamma and Adhamma. I don't know if I am good enough, but
So can we talk a little more about the nature or the characteristic of what we are talking about, each word? For example, when we talk about Dhamma, reality, and then we talk about Dhamma and Adhamma, we understand what is meant. But now when we talk about meditation, or about what? We have to understand what is meant by meditation. Otherwise, we've talked in different angle or different aspect. So are we now talking about the meaning of meditation to understand, firstly, what is it that we are talking about, the same subject?
It is about Mahasi meditation. That should be the only one,
Yeah,
only real Dhamma.
yeah.
And that's like the Buddha did. I don't know,
But in order to understand what is heard, what is it? Meditation. We don't talk about the behavior of that person or this person, but the meaning of meditation. Is it real? Is it a reality? Because if it's a reality, it must have its characteristic to be known. Like seeing now. It sees that which sees, that which arises to experience an object, and the object is visible object. And we understand what is meant by seeing. So now what is meant by meditation? What is it? It's not seeing, right? It's not hearing. It's not attachment. So what is it? Meditation. Is it real? If it's real, it has its own characteristic to be known. That is meditation. Right now, it is seeing which sees. So, what is meditation?
I know. It is this. You see which sees. Yeah.
Seeing is not meditation. It's a moment of seeing, a moment of experiencing that which impinges on the eye base. That's all, and it's gone instantly, unknowingly.
Yeah. And then there is eye consciousness.
So, what is meditation? Is it real? Is it a reality?
Is it a reality?
What is it? A reality? Not seeing for sure, because seeing just sees.
I don't know. I think I just saw this. A Dhamma is a reality.
Yeah. Can
So
it be known? Can it be known?
Yes.
Can it be realized?
Can it be real? Yes, I think.
But the way or when will it be realized? Because it's now. It arises and falls away unknowingly. Is that true? And can it be known? Can it be realized? That is just so very short. What appears as seeing to be known is not that which is seen at all. That which is seen cannot experience anything. That's why we use the, yeah. So that which is seen is not meditation for sure. And seeing itself is not meditation. So what is the reality which is taken from meditation?
Is it realizing?
Realize what, please?
Yeah, realizing the truth. But that's such a big word.
So seeing is real, is that right?
Yeah.
And that which is seen is real.
Yeah, it's the
So
rupa.
the moment of understanding it when it's there, from hearing, considering, but the seeing itself cannot meditate. So what meditate? Or what is the purpose of meditation? Seeing is there now. Can it be known? It can be known. Can it be realized? It can be that which is the object of realization of the truth, because it's so true. It's a reality.
Yeah.
That's why the moment of beginning to understand the truth of seeing, if it's not developed, if it does not consider it, can it be known or realized that actually no one there at all at moment of seeing? Is that the point of developing the understanding of the truth? To understand whatever is there as it is, seeing, hearing, what is there right now. Otherwise, it's useless to learn about it and cannot realize it. But it can be realized little by little from hearing again and again and again and understand what is the object that can be realized. That which is not there now, can it be realized? Impossible. Only that which is there now
can be realized.
Can be the object of realization. So there is seeing now. So it's the object of realization. Is that right?
Yes.
But it has to be only by understanding the truth. It's not just know nothing about it at all and try to understand the truth of it. Impossible. Because the truth can be little by little known as it experiences, not that which is experienced. Without understanding the difference between the two, it's I see and I see something, not just that which impinge on the eye base and appear and gone. Now, instantly, that's the way to understand little by little by letting go, thinking about other things, but just one reality at a time. For now, we talking about seeing. No point to understand the other reality. But the point is, it does not appear for sure right now, as one doesn't close one's eyes yet. What is there seen, not that which sees? Is that right?
At the moment, there's hearing for me. Your voice. There is this hearing, and there's also the knowing from the hearing. So that's, can we compare that with the seeing?
It is right understanding that seeing is that which can sees the reality which arises just to see or to experience visible object which impinge on the eye only. That is the basic or the theoretical understanding, or when we learn more, it's the understanding only of that which is there, but not yet the moment of being aware only at its characteristic, which begins to be attended right now. It does not instantly appear as it is, not yet, because not enough conditions for the moment of it's there with awareness and right understanding of just only it. Nothing is there. Gradually, little by little, it's not there. It's away from what we take for things and people all around at all. Isn't true? Now there are so many objects which is seen, but only one reality at a time can be studied, can be the moment of beginning to understand that it's true. But the truth is different because now the truth does not appear as it's there and then gone. But in truth, consider it. What is true? Does it stay for a while? Impossible. Because even now at moment of talking, they're seeing all the time. But in truth, seeing cannot be all the time. Because at moment of thinking, speaking, that's not moment of experiencing visible object. Different moment, different object at a time, beginning to understand the truth of what is there. Because the truth is not as it appears at all. It appears as it's so permanent. It's there from morning up to now. But in truth, what about just a moment ago or this morning, early morning, and then late morning, and then now, and then it will be evening and so on, and tomorrow never be the same moment at all. Is that true? If it's true, it can begin to be object of studying, learning, attending to that which is now appearing, little by little, stage by stage. If no one talk about it, as it's done by conditions, who knows that even seeing right now is conditioned by the eye base and that which impinges on it, and there are other conditions for its arising too, little by little, to understand the different characteristics, different appearing, different nature of that which experiences no shape, no form, no smell, just arise to experience. Imagine, not as that which is seen, heard, smelled, tasted at all. Without all this, it begins to attend to one reality, that which arises and experiences the object, until it appears with awareness and right understanding, with attention to the characteristic. Not like now, no attention to the nature of seeing at all. Is that right? So what is the purpose of meditation? What is it?
Is it understanding?
Certainly, understanding the characteristic, not as something as before.
No.
Because it's not I who sees,
No.
it's a reality, which if it does not arise, they can never be seeing at all.
It is a process. What's going on?
And instead of using the term meditation, can there be the moment of understanding, developing gradually to understand the truth, to let go ignorance and attachment and wrong understanding, which now I see it's wrong. No one there at all, only a moment of seeing.
Yes. Yeah.
So in Pali term, it's used as a word bhavana, the development of understanding from hearing, considering, gradually to be so sharp and keen to condition moment of direct understanding with awareness of our reality, only one at a time, by conditions.
Yeah.
No expectation, beyond expectation. It's there already right now.
Yeah.
And this is the only way to let go ignorance and the wrong understanding, taking that which appears as something, or I see, I hear, and people and things, without just one moment of experiencing an object. Can there be anyone or any world or anything? And this is such a Dhamma.
But is it? May I come back with my question? Is it then important the method you use? Because now we are just by listening to you, by listening to the Dhamma.
So
Explain.
Yotika, if I can just come back to your original points, when you mentioned, is this method or this person's kind of meditation, some people might say this tradition of meditation is the only real Dharma, and someone else may say this meditation is the only real Dharma. But then we're just talking about situations, stories, because as you agreed at the beginning, Dhamma is just truth, just reality. Kusala, akusala, dhammas at different moments. So no matter whether we're sitting in a quiet place with our eyes open or closed, or whether we're in a noisy place, moments of kusala, moments of kindness, moments of wise considering, and many, many moments of ignorance and attachment. So we cannot say this or that situation, this or that meditation is Dhamma or not Dhamma. We have to come back to understand what is the reality, what is the Dhamma now, no matter here or there. And that's why Ajahn is stressing, what about seeing now? If there's no understanding of seeing now, because it's at this moment or what is seen, if there is no bhavana now, no understanding of the truth now, what about at other times? So it's not a matter of this person or that person's technique or method or manner. It's about the understanding, one's own understanding at this moment. And without listening and considering and appreciating more and more what it is to be understood, how can bhavana develop? For example, if there is the idea now that I see, I hear, I think, I can apply a method or I can practice a technique, it's not any bhavana. We're using bhavana because meditation can mean different things to different people. But the bhavana is just the understanding at this moment. Last week, we discussed a bit more about awareness. The awareness, the understanding can only be now. And only understanding can know whether it's kusala dhamma now or akusala dhamma. So it's not about the situation. And at the beginning, you said, well, meditation should be exactly as the Buddha did. It's not about imitating someone else's lifestyle. The Buddha didn't say we should all live in the forest and sit cross-legged, or we should all walk barefoot for alms. He taught about seeing, hearing, kindness, anger, different dhammas to be understood. So it's not imitating the other's outer behavior, but understanding the truth that was taught by the Buddha and the wise followers, to understand more about what is Dhamma now. Because without that understanding, it's impossible to say what is Dhamma, what is Adhamma, what is Kusala now, what is Akusala. We might see someone sitting quietly cross-legged, looking so tranquil, and think, oh, this is the development of Dharma, but actually it's just our own story, our own fantasy, our own clinging to the idea that this one has the truth or the great meditation. But what about the bhavana? What about the true meditation, if you want to use the word, the true understanding at this moment? Because there is only this moment. So it's not about the situation. It's not about sitting together in a Zoom or being in this country or that country or in a noisy place or a quiet place. It's just about hearing, learning, and understanding more about different dhammas. And this is bhavana.
And it is also not about this method or that method.
Not at all. When we think of this method or that method, it is the idea of this person or myself following this or that method. And it's the idea of doing something. Like last, it's about doing or following. Like last week when we were started to discuss about awareness at the end, and someone asked how to understand awareness, but this is still the idea of I doing something, I understanding, I following, I making some special effort, or the idea of doing something in daily life or not doing something in a special situation. So it's not the understanding of Dhamma now when we think of this method or that method.
Thank you very much. Thank you very
So
much.
but I'm so glad you've brought up the topic because it's very helpful for many people. Thank you, Yotika. I think Jonathan's about to speak.
Well, just want to add a quick word because Yotika, nice to see you again, and thanks for the question. When Ajahn asked you what is the purpose of meditation, you said it was to develop understanding. And indeed, it is understanding that is the path taught by the Buddha. It'd be correct to say he taught a path of understanding. It would not be correct to say he taught a path of meditation. Meditation, as we understand it today, is some people's idea of how understanding is to be developed. But it's not like that in the suttas. In the suttas, the Buddha described the world as it is. He described the world as it appears to the person of developed understanding. And it is his teaching, and Sarah made this point, it's not the Buddha's behavior that we should look to, it is his teaching, what he said to the world to explain the truths he had discovered that we need to pay attention to. Do you understand the difference? So it's true that prior to his enlightenment, the Buddha sat and developed the jhanas, went through the jhanas and so forth, and then became enlightened. But this is not something that we should try to emulate. And the Buddha didn't say that this is something to be emulated. He explained the way the world is so that understanding can develop little by little, gradually, over a long period of time. Although, of course, at the time he was teaching, there were many people who were ready for enlightenment, unlike today. So we always need to keep in mind that it's the Buddha's teaching, words of teaching that are to be understood in order for the understanding that is the development of the path to be developed.
Yeah.
Right, thanks.
For me, it's helpful to see the difference.
Can I ask a question? Hello,
Yes,
this is
Chin.
Chin speaking.
Hello, Chin. Good. Nice to
Hello.
see you. Come in.
Nice to
Hi.
meet everyone. I'm glad Yotika brought up this topic. Also, so I'm wondering, John, you said what the Buddha did to reach enlightenment is not meant to be emulated, but it's meant to be understood. We meant to learn from his teachings, but not try to emulate his actions. Is that
Thank
correct?
you. Yes, that's correct. Yes.
And what is the how do you come to the conclusion that trying to imitate or follow what he practiced is not a good way to understand his teaching? Why do you say that? It's not, since he did, even though he meditated, he sat and reflected, considered, and reached his understandings that way, but it's not meant to be replicated the same way. So my understanding is that is one way that he used, one method, one tool he used to have a better understanding of the world of Dhamma, and but you're saying that we shouldn't focus. You said it's not meant to be. So please.
Yes.
I want to understand how
okay.
you reached to that conclusion. How
Okay,
you come
good
to that
question.
conclusion. Yep.
Yeah, good question.
Thank you.
So when we talk about emulating the Buddha, we are talking about looking at his final lifetime, just before he became enlightened. But that lifetime is the culmination of many, many lifetimes since he made the vow to become a Buddha. And it's not possible just by looking at that final lifetime to know how he came to be ready for self-enlightenment in his final lifetime. And so one would look at him and say, oh, it's like, the analogy to me is like looking at a rich person who is living a life of luxury and driving a fancy car and thinking, oh, in order to become rich, then I need to drive a fancy car and live a good lifestyle. It's putting the cart before the horse. So in his teaching to people after his enlightenment, the Buddha explained what it is that needs to be known in order for the truth of the realities to be seen.
Okay.
And
All right.
that was the purpose of all his talks from the moment of his enlightenment until his death 45 years later, to tell the rest of the world what it was he had discovered and what are the truths of the present moment and to be known. So that's how I come to that conclusion. He didn't say, look at me doing this, because the Buddha could perform miracles, for example. So how does one emulate a miracle for a start?
So he did also.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. I come in, but is it that he did also not say Vipassana is the best way to meditate?
Vipassana. What is Vipassana, Yotika? What is Vipassana?
Vipassana meditation.
Vipassana, yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Buddha
But what is Vipassana? What is the reality that is Vipassana?
Seeing things as they really are.
Right. And what reality sees things as they really are?
Consciousness, I think.
What kind of consciousness, though?
What kind of consciousness?
Would have to be consciousness with understanding, wouldn't it?
Oh.
And the things that are seen as they really are the realities that we talk about. Yeah. That's another important thing to understand. So he didn't say Vipassana meditation. He said the development of Vipassana, meaning the development of understanding the way things are at the present moment.
Yeah.
Okay, so Chin, going back to our thread.
Sorry.
No, feel free to continue, Yotika. And while you're thinking about that.
No, it's okay. I think I will give it to Chin.
Okay, I do have something to ask you, to John, after you made that analogy. I do also have a belief that people learn through different means. If we can all agree, some people learn by doing, some people learn by reading, some people learn by talking and discussing. But to say that I'm an athlete, ex-athlete myself, so I choose to play a lot of sports, and I want to use the analogy that I'm a tennis player, but if I just read a book explaining from Roger Federer of how to hit the tennis ball perfectly,
Yeah.
I would compare to, and if I give that book to a student, to a 10-year-old, versus if I give a tennis ball and tennis racket to the 10-year-old, I still believe that, you know, the kid who learned through doing would understand how to play tennis at a faster rate or better than a kid who just reads the book.
Right. That is so for tennis, and that would be so for music also, I suppose.
Yeah.
But if one is, for example, studying for exams, preparing to pass exams, then there's just the studying and there's not a doing option.
So are we being tested? Are we performing an exam? Are we?
Well, no, not quite. But I'm just trying to point out that, as we were saying earlier, the path taught by the Buddha is a path of understanding.
Yeah. So, and I agree. I agree that
yes,
it is the to reach enlightenment is to have better understandings of Dhamma, of everything, you know, and but I do believe that there are different means to reach that understandings, and trying to, for example, just read, or you know, there are more than one ways, and why I used the sport as an analogy is, if I can continue, for example, we should to be a successful athlete or someone, or in any sports or even in business, it's still good to have someone you want to model after. You know, you want to train the same way he did to be able to. It's still better than to try to come up to read the book yourself and not to try to practice or train the same way he did. I still truly believe that to say that because he did that doesn't mean that we should follow how he trained. To me, if I read Roger Federer's book of how to be the greatest tennis player of all time, I still need to practice and follow. I think it's still wise to try to follow what he did, rather than just trying to read and understand the book. You know, I think, and that applies to everything in life. That's what I truly believe.
You talked about different means of developing understanding. I would say to that, well, any means that was explained by the Buddha is okay.
Okay, then meditation is one of them, though. But you were saying that we should not emulate the meditation, because even though he did that.
No, we're getting back to the difference between what he did and what he taught. So,
are you saying that he didn't teach meditation?
Well, it depends. As Sarah explained, meditation is a woolly sort of term. It means different things to different people. So what he taught clearly was the development of understanding as being the path. And in a sense, he didn't teach the method of understanding, because there isn't a method. But what he taught is what is to be the object of understanding, what it is that is to be understood, and how the world appears to the person who has developed understanding. And so that's, and we can consider carefully what he said when he gave his teaching. That has to be the starting point, because even if you're going to argue that the Buddha taught meditation, which I personally don't, not the way I see it, but you still have to examine carefully, well, what did he teach about meditation? Because it doesn't mean you can just sit and start meditating. If he taught meditation, let's have a look at the suttas where he taught it and see what he said.
Sorry,
Because a lot of
if I-
people are claiming to teach Buddhism
Mhm.
by not following precisely what is in the suttas. They have their own interpretation of how understanding can be developed.
May I ask you, just before you go further, just to clarify what you said? Are you saying that the only way to have understanding, real understanding, is through the teachings of the Buddha, and that
Yes.
no one else in the past has ever reached enlightenment without the teachings of the Buddha?
Well,
Is
if
that what you're saying?
the same enlightenment, of course, there's only when the Buddha's teaching is no longer around, then no one can reach enlightenment.
Or even
The
before the
enlightenment taught
teachings
by
of
the
the
Buddha.
Buddha? Are you saying there was no one who ever understood and reached the same level of understanding as the Buddha before his teachings?
Not since the Buddha prior to him, yes.
Okay.
So there's the time of a Buddha, and
Okay.
then there's a time of no Buddha. And that's when a new Buddha comes.
Okay. I guess that's where I disagree.
Right.
Because I do believe that there are other people in the past, or maybe previous Buddhas or other non-Buddhas who, or maybe we call them, but who can reach understanding a level, the same level as the Buddha without the teachings of the Buddha. That's where I think we can agree to disagree. Maybe.
Yeah, well, it's difficult to say that with confidence unless you have some idea of what it is they became enlightened to, because there can be plenty of people who may appear to be enlightened, and they may have made some pronouncements that sound like a pronouncement of an enlightened being, but it doesn't mean they have
right. But I'm saying even
really
the Buddha
understood
did
things.
admit that there are other people or other Buddhas in the past who was able to become enlightened without his teaching, though. But he may not have
that's
passed on the
the
teaching.
cycle. That's the cycle of things, that there's a Buddha era, and then there's an era when there's no Buddha teaching, and then there's another Buddha era.
Right. So how did those people or those Buddhas reach nirvana without the teachings of the last Buddha?
Because they started that journey while the last Buddha was alive, and while his last teaching was alive. So then there's a period when the teaching is lost to the world, but there are people who have heard it before. Okay, I think it's time for me to stop talking and
that's
invite.
okay.
No, you stay there. You stay there, Chin, because
Chin, I just
Sarah.
want to say I'm really glad to see you in the meeting. It was great seeing you in Bangkok recently.
Thank you. I really,
and it's nice and lively discussion. And when you mention about one method or many methods, but the Buddha taught one path, and the one path beginning with right understanding. And what is unique to the Buddha's teaching is the teaching about dhammas as anatta. So if there is the idea of I practicing or following this or that method or doing vipassana, then it's not the understanding of Dhamma now, like seeing now, which Ajahn was talking about, hearing now as anatta. No one there, no one that sees, no one that hears, no one to do this or that. So when we think that I practice this method to be a tennis player, we're talking conventionally, but in truth, there are just moments of seeing, moments of thinking, moments of touching, intention to move the hand this way or that way, just different dhammas which are conditioned, arising and falling away. And if one had to follow the appearance of the Buddha to become enlightened, what about the lady who became an arahat when burning the cooking, or the one turning over in bed, or the one getting wet at the river? So daily life, anytime, any place. And just briefly to Yotika, so Vipassana is the very strong, clear understanding of Dhammas. So without the wise considering about what Dhammas are, there can never be the development of understanding, the development of Satipatthana, which leads to the very clear understanding, which is Vipassana. Without clearly understanding what is Nama now, what is Rupa now, not just by thinking, but by directly understanding hardness that is touched now, seeing which sees now, there will never be the development of Satipatthana. So I think that the more understanding, the more appreciation there is of how little is known, how much ignorance there is now. We may think when we read about Vipassana, oh yes, that's clear, that's clear. But is there clear understanding even now of what is seen, even now of what is touched? Or is it still I trying to follow this or that practice or method?
That's the most difficult thing.
Exactly. So the more understanding, the more subtle the teachings are, not just, oh, follow this way or that way or this practice.
Of course, I'm
And
not saying that at all. I do agree with you that, you know, in order to learn, but you do need to have the vipassana part. It's not just sitting there quietly and mindlessly, not thinking about, contemplating about, or reflecting about what your life, how your life was, or how your day was. You know, it's not just trying to be at peace. But I think there's, when I meditate, I do contemplate and reflect on how my day was and what I can learn from it. But and that I consider as vipassana, part of vipassana.
and
It's just yeah.
The main point, which I'm sure you agree on, there's only ever this moment. So no matter whether you're playing tennis, or no matter whether Federer is calling you on your phone now, or no matter whether you're sitting in a corner, life is just at this moment. If we think that in order for there to be peace, or in order for awareness, I have to wait until I'm sitting quietly with my eyes closed.
No,
It's
not saying that at all.
missing the understanding.
Not saying that at all. It's just easier with less distraction. So if I go to the mall with tons of people, or go to a concert, for example, and I try to understand the teaching, try to contemplate, to reflect about what I'm suffering about, it would be very difficult because there's a lot of distraction and
is there any difference in the seeing in the quiet place or seeing in the mall or the rock concert?
Can you repeat the question?
The seeing consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any difference in the seeing consciousness, whether you're in the quiet, tranquil place or the busy rock concert or the mall?
Yes, I think there's a huge difference.
And the hearing, is there any difference in the hearing in those places?
Yes.
Because the Buddha taught that the reality of seeing is just seeing. It's just what arises now, sees what is visible and gone. And it's just the same here or there, in Thailand or in Australia, at the beach or in the mall, still just seeing. And what is seen, the color, the visible object, is still just the color, the visible object.
Right. I'm not denying. I'm not talking about that. Sorry, but I mean, if I'm studying for an exam, would you want, if you were studying for an exam, would you want to study at a rock concert, or would you want to study in a quiet library? You know, I think it's the same. I think that's what I'm trying to say. It's much more distracting to be studying in a rock concert. And the same thing, we're trying to study Dhamma, the understanding of Dhamma, and to do it in a rock concert will be more difficult than to do it in a quiet place. That's what I'm saying.
I think Betty's waiting to say
Yep.
something. Go ahead, Betty.
Yep.
Okay, thanks, Sarah. Thanks you and John for your wonderful explanation. But I would like to add something, Fortune. First of all, when you look at the suttas where they explain what the Buddha was doing in the last hours before his enlightenment, they don't say he was sitting and concentrating on his breath. It doesn't say anything about that, but it does say something like, well, at such and such hour, he realized such and such. Okay, so that indicates that he was reflecting, considering, contemplating, whatever word you want to use for that.
Yes.
Picharana in Thai. So it seems that, and that is actually the path, but it doesn't matter what place it is being done in, because it doesn't come just because I say I'm trying, I want it here, I want it there. It doesn't come. It can come in the most odd places when you least expect it. But it totally depends on what the conditions are for it to arise at any time, place, whatever. So it's a matter of, for him, the Buddha, one of the things that had to be done was to go into homelessness in his last life. But that doesn't mean that we have to sit in a quiet place, or that a quiet place is better for understanding to arise. Because understanding can arise in the hustle bustle of a mall. It can arise anywhere, depending upon the conditions. So it's not a question of you setting up conditions, because there's no you to set up any conditions. The conditions are there. They arise because they have been conditioned to arise. And there are, of course, factors that allow for those conditions to arise, but they're not something where you can make a list of conditions, say, well, I'm going to do all these things all the time and make the conditions arise. It's not quite as simple as that. So so probably for you, I would say that perhaps a greater understanding of the way conditions operate would be very helpful in understanding how panya, or understanding, does arise, because it can happen anywhere, anytime, any place, as long as there's the foundation of the pariyatti learning. So that's basically all I wanted to say. But
No, thank you, Betty. And I do agree that Dhamma and understanding can be reached anywhere.
Yeah.
At any time we can always learn, and even at a rock concert, I do believe that too. I wasn't saying that we can't learn Dhamma and understand or have a better understanding even if I'm at a rock concert. But I'm saying that when I do want to reflect deeper and in the things that's bothering me at a deeper level and requires a lot of focus and understanding, it's better to do it in a quiet place, and I can contemplate at a deeper level.
Okay, but that's still trying to create. I want to be in a quiet place. You're still saying I want to be in a quiet place in order to develop understanding, and it doesn't matter, because the conditions can be there in a very noisy place. It can be any place. So when you say it's better in a quiet place, that's not necessarily so.
Yes, I'm saying
you're still thinking in terms of an I developing understanding.
I know why you, but I'm not trying to say that at all. That the more I know you're trying to to
I'm not trying
separate the I.
to help you.
But what I'm trying to say is that for an Arahant, for the Buddha, he could be at a rock concert and he could still be at peace. But for regular people like us, we're at the understanding of Dharma, the level. There's so many different levels of understanding. But maybe some at the kindergarten level would require. It would be much more difficult for that person to try to understand the teachings of the Buddha in a rock concert than the Arahant.
No, you never know. We can't make that. We can't come to that conclusion for the simple reason that our level of understanding is low. Yes, of course. And it means we need to have more understanding of the conditions that act to come together, say, to create an environment, or not an environment, to create the moment that, say, understanding would arise. Okay, so and we don't know that yet. So that it arises any time, any place, anywhere, as long as the conditions are there, and as long as we've had the basic parayati learning.
Thanks, Betty. I think it'd be good if Ajahn could also add a few words at this point.
And I think Carmen also has a question she wants to bring in too. So maybe, do you want to ask your question first, Carmen, and then Ajahn can address it? And
actually, it was not really a question. It's more what I really, thank you, Chin. I really appreciate your contribution. Of course, everybody knows I really appreciate it. But Jonathan said at one point, like the discussion about what was the Buddha, he didn't, why not follow what he has done, but can't we just conclude we don't know, because we do not know how much accumulated panya each of us has. We do not know what, in which point of time the Buddha in his past life did this or did that or did such thing or did that to achieve at one point Buddhahood. So we just don't know. So
correct.
And okay, the Buddha in the, I don't know the English word, but in the transferring of his knowledge, but it's also a transferring of his knowledge over several years of people doing it by speech, and then they wrote it down, and etc. etc. Only thing I know, there is a lot of writing down about the bhavana, about the jhanas, about vipassana, and how we really meant it. Like this is what how he meant it. We don't know.
Right, I agree.
It is totally interpretation, and of course, a good study helps. For me, of course, a good reflection, and you can call it meditation or observing or however you call it. And for all of us, there is an I involved most of the time during the day.
Yes.
Of course, sometimes there's an I, few moments, maybe not. And it doesn't matter what I always say, it doesn't matter what you do in these moments. So I think we don't know. And I think it is really, interesting if we say we do.
Yes, no, I agree. That's why I thank you, Carmen, because I still think most of us don't really know, can't really say exactly what the Buddha said or taught, and which is the correct understanding of how to get to nirvana. But to say that meditating is a pretty big claim, and to say that to talk and discuss to get understanding is the only means is a pretty big claim. And but I do believe that I try different methods. I've been trying different methods. I grew up as a Buddhist all my life, and I've been trying to figure out to see what works for me the best. And it seems that meditation is one of a very useful tool for me to help understand the world better.
Thanks,
That's
Chin and Carmen. My one comment is that what we do know is what we can know is there to be found within the Buddha's teachings. And yes, we can't know anything without studying his teaching. And with that, I pass over to Ajahn for comments. Thank you.
If we don't know about Buddha at all, but can there be any understanding of what is there now? And what is the point of talking about the truth? To understand what is true and what is not true. Is that right? Otherwise, how can one know that one just lives in the world of nimitta, or not the true reality to be known as not anyone at all? There is seeing right now for everyone. Is there any understanding of seeing? If there's no understanding of seeing, what else can be understood? If there's no understanding of hearing, what else can be understood? Without understanding moment of touching, is there anything to be understood at that very moment? Just learn to understand how come all these words of truth about what is there right now as it is. Otherwise, anyone please talk about it. What is the truth of this moment? Because we do not have the understanding of the truth at all without considering, without hearing. There's no understanding of no matter what is there in life in a moment. And seeing is a moment. Hearing is a moment. Is there anyone who understands the truth of seeing? Or try to understand the other things, not understanding what is there now? There must be different ideas. So what's your own idea about the truth to be known? What is it?
Are you're asking me, Ajahn Sutin, right?
Yes.
My question would be, I guess we do have a different belief of what the Buddha taught a little bit. My understanding of what the Buddha taught Dhamma is to end suffering. It's not to understand everything. And I do think that for me, it's more, and to end suffering is the ultimate goal, is why he taught the Dhamma. And it's not to understand everything that you see. It's not to understand how the car works before I can drive to reach a destination that I want, but it's how to understand where the suffering comes from, which are the attachments. And that's why I think to me, it's more important to understand where my suffering comes from. And I focus on those rather than to try to understand everything that I see or everything that I hear. And I feel like that's been very productive for me. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Do you believe that everything is suffering?
No.
So you mean that some is suffering and some are not, right?
Right.
That's not the word of the Buddha, because we understand suffering by different meaning. For example, what is suffering for this person and what is suffering for that person? Illness or unpleasant feeling. But the Buddha said, all dhammas, and dhamma is the reality, whatever is real, is dukkha in the Pali term, which is not unsatisfactory at all, because it's there so very short and then gone unknowingly. And the idea about it is someone or something all the time. Like when you said about long story about how to be understood and on and on and on. But what about the moment, one moment, is it known as it is to understand who's the Buddha? Because we heard the term Buddha, but no understanding of his words, of his teaching about at all. But if we forget about the name, is there seeing right now? Is it known? Or is it is not known yet as it is? Begin to consider without mention any name. Seeing now is conditioned, otherwise it cannot arise. Without the eye and that which impinge on the eye, can there be seeing? Impossible. Can you see anything at the back? Impossible. Even there's the eye, but nothing impinge on it at the back. So seeing does not arise to experience or to see what is there at the back at all. Is that true? Begin to understand just one moment, not the long story about suffering, what are suffering and what are not. But now, what is there? It's conditioned. Nobody can select what to be next at all because uncontrollable, unpredictable. What is there by conditions? Do you know what would be the next moment? Just the next. Impossible, right? But long story about what is there by one's own idea and the other's idea, no matter what idea, but what is true right now. Seeing is not always there because there is hearing, and hearing cannot see, and seeing cannot hear. They cannot arise in a moment together at all. Is that right? Beginning to understand how subtle each moment is by conditions. Is that right? Who knows what would be the next smelling or thinking, see, or touching? And that is taught by the enlightened one. Otherwise, it's not one's own idea about now. Let's consider one reality in a moment, only in a moment, because each moment is different. Begin to consider carefully what is true and what is not true, and learn to understand the truth a little more by the words from the enlightened one. That is the way to understand who's the Buddha without his words about the truth of this moment. He is not a Buddha. No one is a Buddha. Only the enlightened one understand all dhammas in one's life, in daily life, each moment. Because whatever is thought about, no one can think about the truth, the ultimate truth. Only what is heard about this moment, what is there. That which arises as that which is seen cannot experience anything at all. But it's real. It's a reality. It's there at the moment of seeing. How come if it does not arise? And there must be conditions for whatever arises. Is that true? No one can make anything arise at all. Anyone wish to be happy, pleasant moment, to experience different moment, not seeing right now, but impossible. It's there already. So we are talking about what is there by conditions already. Because we can think that we can do this, we can make this, but in truth, what is there already? Thinking is there, right? Unknown, that is there already and gone. So the one who enlightened the truth of each moment as it is different, one arises to experience the object. It is not hard, it's not soft, it's not the sound, it's not the smell, but it is the pure, that which arises to experience. It doesn't have any shape, form, or smell, or anything at all. And it is seeing right now, no shape, no form, no smell. But it sees no shape, no form, no smell, because it just arises to see. So there is a reality for sure now, or anytime, experiences one object at a time by conditions. When there are conditions, it's time to see. Conditions are the conditions seeing to experience whether pleasant or unpleasant object. No one can select at all. It's already there. So the point is that there is the idea about many things, but what about the moment which has a reason to think about that, not about other things? That's why learning to understand what is true and what is the idea or the nimitta, the sign of seeing, because just one moment of seeing cannot be known at all. By way of the process of before seeing what's there and seeing just a moment and gone and what is there after it. That's right, learn to understand whether it's true or not. At moment of understand the truth, it begins to understand what is meant by the enlightened one and who's the Buddha. If there's no understanding at all about the truth, so true, it's not just believe or not let believe, it's just consider it, whether it's true or not. To be true to the truth is a quality which will condition more understanding of the truth, deeper and deeper, subtle, subtle, on and on and on, until what is now appearing appears as it is. What is meant by appear as it is, not anything and no one at all. Seeing is moment of experiencing visible object. So the whole world or the universes, the sun and the moon and everything cannot appear without seeing. And thinking about the nimitta, the sign, the shape and form taken by the succession of it, which arises and for the in split seconds, condition the shape and form to be taken for something, and I experience it from birth. But where's the birth moment? Can anyone find? Or even it's not birth moment, what about yesterday? Nothing is left. And today will be the yesterday of tomorrow, right? If each moment does not go on, how can there be the other moment on and on and on to be tomorrow? And what is the difference moment to moment? When one is fast asleep, see, no experiencing of that which is seen before and on and on. No seeing, no hearing, no smelling, no thinking either. Just like the moment of birth, not seeing, hearing at that very moment. So while one is fast asleep, who am I? Is there any idea? My family, my friend, my house, my wealth, my car, my, no, nothing at all. And that is there. At night or at any time when there is no experiencing, no seeing, no hearing, no smelling, no tasting, no touching. It's there. So it's there in between processes, seeing and hearing by conditions. What is there gone? So it cannot be further seeing. It has to be the moment of nothing appear, nothing of this world, that which is seen and heard. But it has to experience an object because there is a reality which arises to experience by conditions, without condition to arise again, to be born again, all conditions gone, absolutely, ultimately, no condition to arise again. That's the teaching of the Buddha. So understand each word about the truth which is hidden. For example, one thinks it's suffering now, and the other is suffering. But Buddha said, or we don't call Buddha yet, but the truth is said about what is there as it is. Little by little, to be truthful to the truth. And that is one condition, Satya Barami, not to go wrong, not to try to experience the arising and falling away. It's impossible because not yet the understanding of what is there as not self, not anyone. It's just a reality which arises by conditions to experience one moment at a time. So the object which is experienced is different too, one object at a time. Right? Beginning to be truthful to the truth and know, and beginning to learn who realize that. Otherwise, it's beyond anyone's considering or expecting at all. About what is there as this and that. It's only one's own idea. But what about the truth? Seeing now is not seeing a moment ago. It's not seeing yesterday. And it can be seen tomorrow or next moment. What is gone? Completely gone. Never to arise again. So no matter what arises, falls away. And that's the ultimate truth, Ariya Satya. The first one, Dukkha Ariya Satya. Whatever arises falls away. Seeing is Dukkha, hearing is Dukkha, because what's the use of just being conditioned to arise and gone, never to arise again in samsara, nevermore. But ignorance and clinging, not understanding the truth, take it for something permanent for a while, like seeing now. It says, but close your eyes, nothing is seen at all. But how come? Just opens one's eye. All are there, surrounded. Who conditioned that? The seeing has to experience each dot of that which impinge on the eyebase, not missing any point, any dot. Otherwise, nimitta is not like this. The continuation, the succession of that which arises and falls away so very rapidly, like the light of a stick, fire stick. Just turn it around so quickly. What is there seen? A circle of light. How come? Just one dot of light. And this is the way life is, from life to life. But it can be known. But they are not in a moment. But what is there in split seconds moment, of split seconds moment? Seeing is one moment, and the object is seen lasts longer than that which arises to experience. That's why Buddha taught about every truth of what is there in life, to be known that actually, without the reality which arises to experience, there's no one, no world, nothing appears. Because no seeing, no hearing, no thinking at all. Is that true? Without seeing, can there be I see? But seeing's gone, where's I? Before seeing, there's no seeing, where's I? As soon as seeing is there, the idea of I is there. No one at all. But there is seeing, no one. So it's me, it's I, sees now. Otherwise, without seeing, how can there be I see? Without hearing, how can there be I hear? Just to be truthful and understanding each reality, which is so very subtle, so very deep. As the word in Pali, O Panayiko, the Dhamma virtues. The teachings of the Buddha, Savakkato, Bhagavata Dhammo, Santitiko, Akaliko, Ehipassiko, or Panayiko, get closer to where is there seeing, not outside, far away, at the mountain or the road and the car, but it's here, right here, at the eye base. And without a reality, which is not the citta, which is the chief of experiencing, the other reality is conditioned to arise together, to be conditioned for whatever arises. Because what arises cannot arise alone. There must be other reality arises together, no matter it is that which experiences the object or that which does not experience the object. For example, the taste, without hardness or softness or heat and cold, can there be the taste? But at moment of touching the tongue sense, what appears is only that which is not hard, not soft, not hot, not cold, but the taste is there, experience, and then gone. It's not there forever at all. Whatever arises falls away, and in truth, in a split second, as soon as it has arisen, it's gone. Because there are conditions for its arising, each word should be carefully considered. For example, there are conditions for its arising. So as soon as it has arisen, it's gone, fall away instantly. No condition to have it there more or less at all. It's gone instantly as soon as condition it to arise. So it has arisen and then gone. Is that true? That's why no thought, no understanding, no attention to each word of the truth. Just take it with attachment to realize it instantly and try to have different ways to experience it. But now it's there. I experience it. It's wrong. I have to do something to understand it. It's wrong. To do is I. No understanding at all. That's why the teachings, not just only from the very beginning only, it continues on higher and higher, sharper and sharper, clearer and clearer understanding. That's why even if for Ariya Satya, for Noble Truth, there are 3 rounds of understanding the truth. So it's not one's own idea, thinking about it a lot, but is it true? It's not there. While one is talking about so many realities arising and falling away right now. Is it true? When it's true, it can be studied, it can be understood gradually, so very gradually, to be foundation, to be ready to understand what is there, moment of seeing or hearing, unknown, unexpected. What would be the object of realization? But there must be the understanding of what is there now and then in life, enough, firm to understand when it's there, but not with citta, which is the chief of just experiencing the object. The shade of red, very slight or very strong, taste and so on. Otherwise, how can it be known as it is different? If citta does not, is the chief of experiencing the true nature of the object which is experienced. So citta cannot understand. It has to be other reality which conditioned by careful reflection, considering what is true and what is not true. No one can pass his understanding to anyone. It has to be what is there as different reality, different cetasikas. That's why we learn to understand a little more, to let go. In truth, what is that? Which is not seeing, but it arises with seeing, to be known too. Otherwise, there must be clinging to that as I again. I feel, I remember, I like, I dislike. All are dhammas, conditioned dhammas. When understanding is there, it's firm, little by little. If someone say, it's me, I see, is it right or wrong? I can realize it by this way, trying this, that way or this way. No understanding what is there now. So consider, is it possible? No understanding of the truth of this moment, and expect to understand what is there. Not now. Try to have it arise. Who is trying? Attachment, ignorance. So what is the result? No matter what is there, it's not known as it is. Because the idea of that I is there. I realize it. See, what is the understanding?
Thank you, Ajahn. And so, Dika, I think we can continue this important topic next time, beginning with the different kinds of dukkha now. So we'll see everyone next week. Come again, Jin.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, your time.
Kapasat.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
Shanti.
Lucas, good to see you here.
Sarah and John in the first time. A
Sarah.
nice, lively discussion.
Yeah.
Yes, good. Yes,
Good.
it's good to have Yotika and Chin and Carmen keeping it lively. Yes, so come again and we'll continue next time. Hi,
Yes.
Lucas.
Shanti.
ค่ะสวัสดีค่ะ everyone.
Sawadika,
สวัสดีครับ
Ajahn.
อาจารย์สุริ
See you soon.
Thank you.
We have a discussion on Monday morning. You might like to join too, Chin, if you're up early.
7:30.
Otherwise, next week.
Thank
Okay,
you.
see you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Sawadika.
Dankjewel. Sadhu.